Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Yash Rawat, and in this video we are going to dive deeper into building up a custom hook called as use infinite scroll and we'll learn about how we can implement infinite scrolling, which we have seen in the applications like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And we'll learn that how it is different from the one we call as the traditional pagination that we see in applications like Google and all. Okay, so let's get into the video. Into the coding, let's quickly understand what infinite scrolling is. So it's basically, instead of having user click to a load more button or to a different button that you see on the bottom of your Google Google, when you are browsing for something and you go to the bottom, you have multiple buttons that take you to a different page. So instead of having that, infinite scrolling automatically loads new data whenever user reaches to the end of the page or a specific element or some threshold value, right? So you have probably seen this feature in the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's very useful because it does not load all the content from the server to the page, because it will take much larger time, right, for that. So it's very useful for content heavy applications, right? So now that we have done that, I have created a project. So for this tutorial, we are going to use a simple React app. It's very simple. We are not even using TypeScript, and if you have seen my videos, you might know that I love TypeScript, right? So I'm not doing that. So if you want to follow, make sure you have the basic React project set up. You can do that by with this. I don't know if I can see this. If you can see this command, so it's basically npx create react app and the name of your project, and then you can see it into it, and you will just run npm start, and then you can see this hello world screen, which means everything is running fine. Okay. So first, since we are building a custom hook, let me create a folder inside my source directory, and I'll call this as hooks, and then I will call this use infinite scroll. Okay, so this is the extension I'm using that basically gives me a boilerplate stuff for React applications, React file basically. Okay, so uh, I hope you are familiar with the concept of custom hooks, right? So we are going to use some type of hooks in here, uh, like use state, use effect, right? And then we can return return some values from this if we want, and the your React file can consume this just like a hook that you use, like use state or use effect, right? So initially what we are going to do is, since we are building a custom hook, we need to know, like, we need to know a point where we will tell our application to start fetching and when to not fetch, right? Okay, so let me start by building this state called as uh, fetching is fetching no sorry is fetching, and set is fetching, and it will be a state, and initially I am assigning the value to be false, right? uh, okay. Okay, and then I should have a method called as handle scroll, which will basically handle this scrolling. See, there are multiple ways how we can do this, but this is one of the way, right? Because I've seen in many examples, like where you're consuming this infinite scroll method, sometimes we attach it to the div, which is the wrapper of all, like, where you want to handle the scrolling, right? So for example, this is my div, and this is so let's say I'm first of all, let me give this a heading of infinite scrolling, because this is our topic of discussion today. And inside this we are going to give a ul, and I don't have that. some reason I don't have my extension enabled, but let's not worry about it. Okay, and so I'll have some items, right? So this will be my state, and I'm going to get this from an external API, like a public API, like JSON placeholder or something. And initially it will have a value of empty array so that I can map over it. And here I will map over my items, right? It will be my item, and just in case to give this a unique key, I'm taking out my index as well. And let me just provide this a key of index, and I will return item. Sorry. Okay, so just okay, now we can see that this basically will not be focusing on the style, by the way, because this is more of a functionality type of a video where we'll learn how this functionality of infinite scrolling works, and will not worry about the look and feel of the overall app. Okay, and we will, since this is a custom hook, we will not be returning a JSX from this video, from this hook. So I hope you understand the difference between a component and a hook, right? And if you don't, the component returns a JSX, but the hook may or may not return value or state, something like that, or function. It will not return a JSX for sure. Otherwise it will be called as a component. And this is the convention that we follow. If you are building a hook, we prefix it with use, right? And from this custom hook, we are going to return a what are we going to return? We will be returning is fetching, and I think we won't be needing anything. Okay, so now let's implement this handle scroll method. Okay, so first of all, we'll implement this in a while, but let me just first install one thing. Yeah, so since we're using a JSON placeholder API to fetch all the data that we'll need for the functionality of infinite scrolling, we are going to need something called as Axios, because we won't be using fetch, because Axios has some benefits over it, and you'll see why. Okay, so in my app I'm going to create a method called as fetch data. This will be an async method, right? And yeah, so in this method what we are going to do is we are going to make a call to the server, which is this JSON placeholder server, and this will be there will be a try and catch block for this. And what we're going to try is we are going to try to make an await. Since it's a async function, we are going to await the Axios response, right? And this will be an https://json placeholder dot type by code.com/posts. This is the syntax basically that they have for their APIs, right? And here we'll be needing a state called as page, and then we are going to hard code the limit, right? So there is no harm in hard coding the limit. All right, okay, so what we'll do is since we are doing this in try block, otherwise if there will be error it will go to the catch block, so we are safe to do our set items here, right? So what we'll do, since we are going to append more items, what we will do is we will take previous items, which is the previous state, and we will combine this with, it will be a list of items, right? So previous items, and then we will add the new response. So we are going to spread it, right? Response dot data I guess it will be data, and then we are going to, you will have to map it over. Okay, and then we are just going to render the title. Did I make some mistake? Yes, I made some mistake. Item dot title. Okay, and I guess okay. So, and so first of all we need a page, set page, and initially we'll initialize this with 1 because will be initially 1, and then after fetching the data we'll have to increase it, right? So what we'll do is previous, and then we'll increase this previous plus 1. Okay, and we'll have a finally block as well here, right? And for our, for this page specifically, because okay, we'll do that later, because we'll have to understand like what are the consequences of doing it and not doing it. So we have done this page thing, and inside this catch you don't have to do anything, but let's just say I'll print the error, right? And then finally I'll have to do something later on, right? And yes, and inside the use effect we'll have to call this initially, otherwise it won't work, right? So for empty dependency it means that we're telling it to load once. Okay, so you can see there's a request that is going, and if you can see that the page is 1 and the limit is 10, and right now infrared tool doesn't go because we haven't implemented it yet. So to implement it, first of all, if you are familiar with this kind of concept, then you know that in order to infinite scroll, we will first have to trigger scrolling for some kind of event, right? So in this case you can use this on scroll type of method, but I am going to take a different approach. We are using refs over here. Okay, so I'll call this as list ref, and I will assign this as use ref, and initially it will be null, and I'm going to pass it to my list ref to here. And interestingly enough, we will pass my ref to the to my custom hook, and also this will take a callback method, right? Callback method. And if you're wondering what is this callback method, this callback method is what will trigger when we want more API calls, right? So basically this right here, this fetch data will be our callback method. Sorry for the typos, I'm doing this after a long time, so I'm a bit nervous, I guess. That is all. Yes, this is what, and we will first pass this as list ref, and then we want fetch data. Okay, and since you can see that we are exporting is fetching, so I'll call is fetching, and I'm going to remove this. Okay, so now yes, so I've done this, and also I will pass some style to this, otherwise it won't trigger the scrolling. So what I will do is I will give this some height at 400 pixels, and then I will have to pass this thing as overflow y, so that it scrolls, right? Now inside my use, I know it's getting a little heavy, but just bear with me, and it will all make sense. Okay, so here I'm going to implement this handle scroll method. Okay, and first in my use effect, there will be use effect, by the way. Okay, so we will have to get the element out of my ref. See, this is the ref is the reason why the scrolling will be noted, because without this ref we won't know there is some scrolling happening to the element we are looking at. So that the ref will provide the element that we're looking at. So ref dot current is the element that we are looking at, right? And we will also check like if there is no element, which means if ref dot current is undefined, we can't do anything, right? We'll have to return, and we will take this handle scroll and we will put it inside the and what we want to do is we want an element dot add event listener, and we'll say this scroll. See, if you would have attached the handle scroll to the UL itself, then you wouldn't need to do this, but this is a different way, and it's a nice way to do things. Okay, now we attached it, and also we need some dependencies over here, and we'll okay. So what we have to do is inside this handle scroll we will calculate the scroll bottom, which is element dot scroll height. I don't know why it is not giving me any suggestion, but I don't like this. Element dot scroll top. See, this is the condition that I always try to remember when I'm building this inference scroll, because in my office I've done this several times and I still don't remember anything. So I always have to Google this stuff, and yes, you're right, I've Googled. And this is the condition that element dot client height. I hope there is no typo, and you can also add some type of static value to this. And we'll say if this condition is true, if this scroll bottom condition is true, and yes, and if we are not in the fetching state, then we'll say set is fetching true. Okay, why we have done this is fetching is because we don't want that if there is already a request going on, we don't want it to just keep on going, right? And after that we also will have to remove this. We're going to write a cleanup function that will remove this event listener. What we call this, element dot remove event listener, right? Remove event listener. Okay, and yes, and okay, and now there is one more use effect which will do the callback thing. So what is this going to do is this will check if we are not fetching, sorry, did not see there, but it's not, if it's fetching false, then return, otherwise we will invoke our callback method, and then we'll also set our is fetching to be false. I hope it is making sense. And is fetching and callback is a method. So since we are using this callback as the dependency, what we will do in our application is that we will wrap this fetch data method with use callback, otherwise it will re-render it again and again. Okay, we don't want to do that. Not re-render, but we wouldn't want it creates a new copy again and again, right? So we will wrap this entire method with use callback, and we'll have to pass it some dependencies. So first is page that I can see, and the another one should be is loading, right? And I think now we are ready for this to go on. And this which I'm using is, I can just place it right here, and I'll say fetching items, fetching items, right? Is loading is not defined. Why? Oh yeah, so I am going to create one state. See, I'm keeping these two separate states. Okay, let's just send the request, and let me do one thing. I'm going to color the background of this thing. So uh, violet, violet. Okay. Also, the height is pretty big, so I'm going to give some padding because I need to adjust the height and the overall that see because I'm fetching 10 items at a single time, so I'm going to adjust this. I'll have to adjust this. This is the option that I have. So now you can see that my height, I can see the scroll bar, which means I had this scrolling view. Now if I go to the bottom, you can see that this is sending a lot of requests at one time, and there was page 2 for like this 10 time, and then it set the page value to 13. So I can see there's this bug that going on. So that is why I introduced this is loading method, which will basically keep me on my ground. So first of all, I will have to check if my is fetching is loading. If this is true, that if it is already sending a request, then I don't have to trigger any scrolling or any API call, right? So that is one thing. And if it is not, then I'll have to set this true because it is now past the situation, and it will avoid the second API call to send it to the server, right? Now if I go, and you can see now it is not sending the request, and let me see why. Yeah, because in here I will have to say that I have to now you can see that I'm sending request, and I'm only sending one request at a time. That is what I wanted, right? And so you can see that 11 is the limit because there is no page. Page 10 is the last one, so that's why I don't have any 11 property, and I don't see any scrolling happening after that. So see, this fetch data method will be different for all of us. Like we will be sending requests to our own specific server or our own public API, whatever we want. So but our use inference code is independent of whatever you want to do. So that is why we are sending this callback method as a prop, and right. And can so there can be questions like, can there be any optimizations in this use inference code? Yes, there can be, but maybe you can maybe what we can do is we can eliminate this is loading state, and keep it similar to this is fetching. And because since we are exporting it, yeah, we can do that. Okay. So I hope you like this video, and I will see you in the next one. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments, and I will look at them. Okay. So thank you so much. See you in the next one.